Anyway, moving on, we've got the Times, Lewis. What have they got in the cover?
Well, it's more about Edwards pleads guilty to viewing indecent images. But the most important question is, Farage denies whipping up street riots in Southport. And this is in the Times. They're basically blaming Farage, like he was calling up people saying, hey, get upset about this, kids being killed, and go to the corner of Smith and Wesson streets and whatever rioting is. I don't think Farage would do something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at what he said, they're saying he had a couple of questions. He asked if the guy was being monitored by the security services, and also the police said it's a non-terror incident, but they said that about the stabbing of the army officer. And there's certainly something. I mean, there's certainly the hallmarks of terrorism, the same pattern. That, even if it turns out it's not, I can understand why people might speculate that it is, particularly as we're in an information vacuum where the police and the authorities aren't telling us anything about the suspect, Josh.
Yeah, there seems to be as you say, a pattern of how the police and authorities respond to these incidents. And in the past, there have been, while I wouldn't necessarily call them cover-ups, but they have been sort of informational black holes, and there's this idea out there that it's a deliberate way of maintaining community cohesion and whatnot. So we have this incident, the most horrific crime that people can't even, imagine, and that lack of information, compiled with the fact that the person was 17 and that the laws in this country. But then we need to ask whether some information or the right information is better than no information at all, because it does allow bad faith actors, which we're going to get into the next story, to step in and provide stuff. So people want to find this stuff out. They feel like there is some manipulation going on, and that is partly what they are responding to.
I agree, and that's the coming from another country and coming to this country, information is suppressed.
Yeah.
So the rumors go. Maybe it has nothing to do with mosques or anything like that. But first of all, everything is such heightened tension right now over what's going on, and then we don't know what's going, and then the people don't know what's going on because it's crushed. And then you're totally right, Leo. Is they want everybody to get along. Why can't we just get along? So. And another thing is that Farage is called right-wing because anybody in this country that's slightly right...
I think he'd say that he's right. Far right is what you mean.
Yeah, far right.
He would say he's right.
Thank you. Far right. So those people who are there are also accused far right, so it must be the same...
Well, we've got right. Is it still going on at the moment? There's, in London there have been people being arrested in the...
I'm not sure if it's still going on, but I've seen footage of, elderly women being arrested. It's certainly a far cry from when the BLM marches were allowed to cause havoc and the police took the knee, or when the police ran away from the Leeds riots, or when the police allowed the Rochdale riots to just continue. And that's just, in recent history. And certainly in London, we've seen march after march of the anti-Israel mobs chanting genocidal slogans. But for some reason, when it's people who are upset about the worst crime possibly imaginable, and I don't know if, I've seen a lot of left-wing people say, they must just be exploiting it. It's like, no, people are genuinely furious and genuinely terrified for their own children, for other people's children. Children aren't safe in the UK, from anyone, it seems, looking at these papers.
What I find the most...
And now the police are coming down on this particular, these marches, these riots, so hard, and it's just so blatantly visible that there's two tiers.
Well, which is right, because the people are they're rioting against the police, which in theory should be on their team, and they're not on their team.
Well, maybe we should move to the next paper and talk about the riots that happened yesterday.
We'll talk about it.
Okay, well, yeah. The sad, from the riots, because I haven't seen much of the footage of the today's and what's happening in London, but the riots yesterday were shameful. There was absolutely a thuggish element there. Seeing that footage, you saw the policeman attack the same police who had responded to the horrific incident in the first place. The mother of one of the victims going through, again, the most, what any human being can't imagine could happen, having to actually stop her grief to put up a post saying, please don't be violent. There's nothing that justifies those riots yesterday. Now, one thing I do agree with you, absolutely, though, is that we mustn't see there is a two-tiered thing, and let's see the same response. The response that we've had today in terms of politicians, we're going to arrest them or whatever. Great, arrest those people, right? It was disgusting what they did. Also, arrest the people up in Leeds. Let's stop the two-tiered policing. Let's have lack of hypocrisy. Let's have some actual consistency here. Yeah. And then I think people will feel like we are being fair. We want fairness.
Yeah.
People want fairness.
And stop calling people far right when they're righteously angry. People are righteously angry.
There were definitely some far-right people at that protest yesterday.
Well, if you want the far right to simmer down and go away, maybe deal with the structural long-term issues that are causing all this grief in this country.